So this is there a duty to be a digital minimalist by Timothy Aylsworth and Clinton Castro. And this is in the Journal of Applied Philosophy from 2001. It's a requested paper from Aristotle. You'd love to do that thing on the subways, like that guy who goes up to strangers and hands them a piece of paper and says, "Excuse me, I drew you, except mine's the shittiest, most childlike drawing." Did you see? Yeah, did you actually see? Someone did that. I think someone was doing that. Kind of funny. No, it was a Omegle. Someone was drawing like, oh, I'm doing a picture of you, and then it was like completely terrible. But yeah. Oh, you agree with using autonomy as they use it for first paragraph? Okay, we'll see. So yeah, someone once drew me on the subway, and I saw they were drawing me, so I stopped. I did not move. I didn't turn my head. I stopped stock still. And then they tried to give me the painting, and I was like, the drawing, and I was like, I don't want it. They were like, well, I made it for you. I'm like, made it for you. I'm like, they wanted me to charge for it, and I was like, I don't want your art. Like, I thought you were because a lot of people actually will be on the subway practicing, just like sketching really fast. Guy was trying to get me to sell it. I'm just like, go away, dude. Like I stood still so you could draw me, not so I could buy it. I was like, nah, dude, like, go away. Your art's like, it wasn't that good. I didn't want to even be angry with it, but I was like, damn. Like, come on. All right. So here we go, though. And as always, feel free to ask questions along the way. It's my first time reading it, too, and then we review it at the end. Teach them some philosophy and then ask them to pay? Yeah, seriously. Like, I've been scammed before where people try to hand me stuff and then charge me for it. I'm like, no, dude, go away. Like, you take your own shitty art and you leave. Like, go. People have become tools of their tools. All right. Very, something. Introduction. I wish I could read. I really do. I make that joke a lot in Twitch chat. Like, why do you think I could read? And then some people take it too seriously. Like, Shane, sometimes he took it too seriously. And other people have too. And I was like, but like the fact that I can type in Twitch chat and then I'm saying, you think I could read? Like, why do you think I could read? And then some people realize, wait, you just typed that in Twitch chat. But yeah. Gooners. Yeah, Henry David Thoreau. I wish I could read. I really do, says comedian Esther Povitsky. I try to read. I buy books. I open books. And then I black out and I'm on Instagram and I don't know what happened. He thought you were following some informal rule that if I do work for them, then you pay them. That has got it very backwards, even for capitalism. Yeah, so I don't know, Ann. It happens. To many of us, this is a familiar occurrence. All too often, we set out to complete a task but are interrupted and subsequently derailed by our wireless mobile devices. At a glance, it appears that we are falling short only in a prudential sense when we succumb to these distractions. We are failing to do what is in our own self-interest, for example, read more. But incidents of this kind might also involve a moral failure. For insofar as we are morally required to cultivate and protect our autonomy, we fail to meet this requirement by falling prey to mobile phone addiction. In this paper, we explain and defend this requirement, grounding it in Kantian accounts of duties to oneself. The type of who are tools of their tools, yes. Okay, first of all, what are you doing? You trying to piss me off, Aris? You giving us me a Kantian theory here? And already they're framing this in terms of they're medicalizing this. Mobile phone addiction. So we've already got a medicalization of like our condition here. This may, of course people are addicted to stuff like drugs, internet, whatever, sex. Who the hell knows? But like the immediate, like just being like mobile phone addiction, you're not a medical doctor, you philosopher here. Don't tell me what an addiction is. Yeah. People will clean your car windows at gas stations without asking to expect a tip. Yeah, that used to happen here in New York. I think they cut down on that. They used to happen a lot. You wanted to see if it would hold up. You figured not, but you weren't sure. Yeah, so you stuck something you were worried about on me. I got you. Okay. Well, we'll see. It's like on the upside, it's a short paper, so that's good. And for all we know, they did a good job with what they were working with. Like they did a good job in terms of Kant. Just because I don't like Kant doesn't mean they did a bad job of it. All right, the structure of the paper is as follows. In the next section, we introduce digital minimalism, the idea that our interactions with digital technology should not conflict with our autonomously adopted ends. Okay, I want to bring up something again. Just because a technology is of a type, that does not mean it is special. Digital technology should not be separated from other technology unless there's a good reason. Just because it's digital, like, do you want to separate yourself from pencils? This is a technology. Like, graphite doesn't naturally appear in like a nice wood tube. Like, this is unnatural. This is a technology. No one's saying we have to separate ourselves from pencils. So, like, already with this happened last time too, where they were talking about AI as a very special technology. I just want to point this out now. What is special about the digital? Religion is a technology, yeah. It's the opiate of the masses. It's a way to, control people, is you give them a vision of the future, and then you tell them this is how things have to be to get to this utopia. So it's a way of controlling people's goals in life. Digital technology is analog to analog technology. Exactly. So we have to be careful. I already fear that they don't really understand the philosophy of technology well enough. I wonder if Luminance is still around. For this to hold up is the problem. Okay. All right. In section 3, we argue for the existence of self-regarding duties. Well, that's fine. In section 4, we complete the argument by connecting our discussion of self-regarding duties to digital minimalism. We argue that there's an imperfect duty to be intentional about our use of wireless mobile devices and other addictive technologies, that is, to be digital minimalists. Okay, so, if they were just saying technology can be addictive, I might be on board with this. But the fact that they're singling out modern tech just sounds like get off my lawn to me. Although their account is broadly Kantian, we are not committed to Kant's views about particular duties to oneself. For example, the prohibition of suicide, the obligation to cultivate talents, etc. For our purposes, what is important about his view is the absolute value of rational agency, the humanity formulation of the categorical imperative, and the distinction between perfect and imperfect duties. See, this is what I was hoping for, that they'd be like, we're going to work in a broadly Kantian scheme, and it won't really matter what Kant said. So, like, that I'm okay with. Like, if you're just going to be like, look, we're going to take a broadly Kantian version of the ethics, and we're going to show how this, to rail against technology, that's better at least. So I'm like, I already don't like them, but, like, they're not terrible at this point. All right, digital minimalism. Or get off my lawn, as I like to say. A great deal has been written about the harmful effects of the addictive behaviors associated with the wireless mobile devices. These addictive behaviors are well known. For many people, their smartphone is the first thing they see in the morning and the last thing they see at night. Okay, so know what they did? They referenced a single book here. Catherine Price, How to Break Up with Your Phone. That's what they did. One book. Ivan says, I don't think claiming this tech is addictive is problematic. We call something addictive when it interferes with choices we would make a third party looking in. Yeah, that's fair. So, but again, that's any tech though. That's anything. Frank says, I'm so addicted to my glasses that being separate from my glasses causes anxiety. Yeah. So that's the question. Like, is it actually a problem? And why are we signaling out, why are we picking this problem out from all the others? You're not sure entirely by that though. Digital platforms are designed to be addictive. Your toaster, not so much. Yeah, but that's the question here. Is it your phone or is it the websites you go to? They do definitely gamify using them. That's fair. And it says some of us can't break away. I don't like using my phone much. Texting gives me anxiety, but alas, I want to pay my bills. Yeah. So this is the thing. What exactly is the claim here? What is the problem? Is it the gamification of our technology, or is it just the technology itself? I think Viper's got the point, brings up a good point that they have made it so that there is addictive aspects like gambling aspects to it. Okay, so the average user unlocks their phone nearly 100 times per day. Studies on students have shown that they're so addicted to their phones that being separated from it or required to turn it off causes anxiety. Students who are addicted to their phones tend to do worse academically than their peers who are not. Many writers in the popular self-help literature, theme of the day, point out how people are often using their phones in ways that they do not want to use them. Okay, and now we're getting somewhere. This is where you're using phones in the way that you do not want to use them. That's right. Sure, but what would Ivan plus Frank say? Frank's use of glasses is bad? No. Ivan plus Frank would say Ivan's use of FaceHub is problematic? Probably. What's FaceHub? Ivan? Sort of like a Facebook Pornhub mashup. Don't know what that is. They are often using their phones instead of having face-to-face interactions, which diminishes the quality of life of their interpersonal relationships. They have shorter attention spans and they struggle to stick to a task without frequent distractions from their phones. A generic addictive website, yeah. Adam says, so it is really blocking your will to meet your other life ends. I thought such tech was supposed to enhance and quicken the attainment of your goals. Yeah. Well, that's the question. So what actually are the goals here? Now, if we're only classifying the goals as the thing the previous generation wanted before the tech existed and before modern life existed, then yes, but that's again, get off my lawn bullshit, because the shit that was in the past doesn't exist anymore. So it's like, I don't know. Further, wireless mobile devices are designed to be addictive. Yes, Vipers brought this up. Consider the popular design guide Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products by Nir Eyal, which leverages findings in behavioral psychology to intentionally create habits, which Eyal identifies as behaviors that become automatic through repetition. The Hooked model of forming habits involves repeatedly running users through the Hooked cycle, which should be familiar to anyone who uses smartphone apps. Trigger. Bring the user's attention to the app via, for example, a notification. 2. Action. Get the user to do something, for example, visit the site to check their feed. 3. Variable reward. Tie the action to a reward, but one that is that's sometimes highly rewarding. Perhaps a notice that one's post is trending and sometimes not, such as a notification that a friend has made a post. 4. Investment. Have the user make an investment, for example, changing their profile picture or making a post so that they will be motivated to come back to the site. Yeah, so they're just basically using, good old gambling stuff. Get yourself like bright lights, get them in, get like blinking lights to make you feel like something's going on, and then you got money on the line. Easy peasy. Ivan says, my ex once wanted to check the Dick's Sporting Good website, and she just typed the URL instead of searching for it. Good times. Yeah. All right, so this is an instruction set for turning a mobile device into a Skinner box, as Eyal states. Research shows that levels of the neurotransmitter dopamine surge when the brain is expecting a reward, which suppresses the area of the brain associated with judgment and reason while activating the parts associated with wanting and desire. Eyal elaborates on this, saying that it is the secret behind many other habit-forming products, such as slot machines and lotteries. Yeah, so they're just using good old addictive research. It is hardly a stretch to say that mobile devices pose a threat to our autonomy, our capacity to set and pursue our chosen ends. By forfeiting some of our agency to our phones or other addictive devices, we diminish our capacity to pursue the ends that we have set for ourselves, and instead serve the interests of the developers of those products, which usually involve spending as much time on our devices as possible. Povitsky's situation demonstrates what this looks like. She was unable to achieve the end she set, reading a book, due to the compulsive smartphone use. There is more going on here than the mere opportunity cost of looking at the phone instead of the book. As Eyal points out, as we become addicted to the dopamine surge we get from our phones, we weaken our frontal lobe's executive function, and this makes us worse at sticking to a task like reading a book. Yeah, so you become, what's it called? The people that are like, oh, you're just staring at the TV all day, you're looking at the boob tube. This is what you're listening to rock and roll music, it's going to rot your brain. It's the old get off my lawn. Of course, there is something to the addictiveness of the apps on the phone. They are doing this on purpose now. And it's just so you're gambling by other means, and that's not great for you, of course. Boob Hub, yeah, that's good. Currently unlock our phones with fingerprints. In the future, we'll have to submit a DNA sample while Siri talks dirty to us. Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, well, what's it called? That is one of those things where you're answering CAPTCHAs, and so sometimes like they have you, the Google CAPTCHAs identify for bicycles, and so you're training AI devices to know what a bicycle is, know what a car is, know what the difference is between an AI and for an AI what a bicycle and a car or a bus looks like, and so you're actually doing work for Google when you do CAPTCHAs like that, because you're training their AIs. And so maybe in the future you will have to train other AIs like DNA samples. No, exactly, Ivan. Why wouldn't that be a thing? If they want to have better AI sex bots, then they might need to be able to identify the ones that have the best looking nipples on them. So yeah, and so then it'll be someone's job, or to maybe set up a captcha, say, what are the prettiest looking nipples? Like, this is a nipple, that is a nipple, that's bad nipple. Better AI censor bots, more like, yeah, that too. I was hoping for the better one though. Okay, what was it called? In Avatar, the blockbuster movie, someone, because everything was digitally rendered, or yeah, a lot of the movie was digitally rendered. The what's it called? The native people there. Someone actually had to, like, do boob physics to properly render the boobs of the female native people. So that was a job, was actually the best. So someone actually had to stare at boobs while well endowed women ran on treadmills. That was a job. Yeah, the Navi. Yeah. Show your nipples. We know it's a points reward. No, I don't think so. It might be at Aristotle's though. Yeah, he has the shirtless redeem. I don't think I do. Okay, in order to substantiate the claim that smartphone addiction undermines autonomy, all right, again, it's just addiction undermines autonomy. And the fact that smartphones do it, it's like, yes, but what's the point? You can be addicted to other stuff too. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the Navi. All right, we must say more about the concept at issue. Personal autonomy has been defined in a variety of ways, but we believe that a minimal definition of self-governance is sufficient for our purposes here. Many of the more specific models should yield the conclusion that many of us are not autonomous with respect to our smartphone use. Smartphone usage. To see this, let's return to Povitsky's case. According to the Frankfurt-Dworkin model, Povitsky's first-order desire to check Instagram while reading is inconsistent with her higher-order desire, that is, to want to read. Or perhaps more accurately, to not want to check Instagram while reading. On Watson's characterization, what is distinctive about compulsive behavior is that the desires and emotions in question are more or less radically independent of the evaluation systems of these agents. Povitsky's smartphone use is inconsistent with her evaluative judgments about what she ought to be doing, and the behavior is compulsive. Imagine going to something anonymous and saying, "Hi, I'm Vipers, I'm addicted to Twitch." Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very addictive platform in some senses. Like the hype train. I'm sure you've been in big hype trains before. The idea that, like, you have to keep giving money to continue a hype train. I mean, it says scam train sometimes. Some people have it just say scam train. It's like they're trying to scam you out of the money. It's like, that's the whole point. It's like, so people I know have had to get off Twitch before because they end up giving too much money away, and that causes a problem for them, so they have to cut off Twitch. Ivan says, maybe the claim is that if we sacrifice autonomy, it becomes an addiction rather than entertainment or communication. I think that's exactly right, but that's not actually a very interesting claim. That's a known claim. And so the fact that they're making it for the cell phone is not very interesting. It's just, okay, so what? It's like, yeah. If you on an island, hype trains work. Yes, they do work. Yeah. Frank says it would actually be worth it to think about what would Ivan plus Frank do when making decisions. Now the question is, what happens if you have different credences and then you have to compare your your Bayes decision functions? Because that wouldn't be a Bayesian update. That would be a different function, and so you wouldn't be doing your Bayesian update then. So that'd be weird. Dear Diary, in hindsight, this "run a train on me" tattoo may have been ill-advised idea. Yes. Okay, yeah. So Bratman defends a model of autonomy that requires harmony between the agent, what the agent does, and her more or less long-term plans. Surely Povitsky's behavior fails on this count as well. We can suppose that Povitsky, like many of us, would like to read many books over the course of her life, and to develop a disposition to being able to sit and enjoy reading for long stretches. The action of looking at her phone compulsively is not consistent with her long-term plans. No matter which model one adopts, the result is likely to be the same. Povitsky is not autonomous with respect to her smartphone usage, and her case is not exceptional. Many people find themselves appalled when confronted with the data showing how much they use their phones. They frequently voice a desire to reduce their smartphone usage. They believe that the use of their phone interferes with the pursuit of more worthwhile goals. Yeah, yes. I mean, the problem is you need your phone nowadays, and then they've also made the phone addictive. So it's hard to get by without it. I know people who actually have codes on their phone that prevent them from doing, they can only do certain things on their phone. And so that keeps them off of it. People do that now. Okay. Here it is fair to ask whether smartphone addiction is unique or if it is like any other addiction. We think that smartphone addiction is unlike other addictions. Okay, so now we're finally getting somewhere. The fact that they're making a uniqueness claim about other addictions, such as addictions to cigarettes, coffee, or even running. Smartphone addiction fuels interruptions that acutely and repeatedly interfere with our ongoing mental and physical tasks. Stupid monk librarian spelling all the time in the nooks. Yeah, that's fine. Ivan's use of Twitch last year was 37 days, and it didn't mean I visited 37 days a year. Kind of bonkers. Oh. Yeah, so it was 37 total days. Yeah, like, no, I have Twitch on every day, like I do. Is that interfering with anything I want to do? Not really, though. I mean, sometimes, but like a lot of times, if I'm not on Twitch, I'm like, it's not like I'm doing anything useful. I need downtime. Esther Povitsky should have stayed addicted to her smartphone. She's pregnant now. Oh, interesting. Yes, the app to limit our other apps. Yeah, exactly, Valbo. So, again, the fact that the phone is insidious, again, I don't find that to be philosophically super interesting, but like, it is a point. Okay, author says, this is in part because smartphones are designed to capture our attention. Yeah, but so is gambling. Like, the question is, you see what's interesting here? They say cigarettes, coffee, or even running. No, they didn't mention slot machines. Slot machines are basically what, like they do in cell phones. Like that's what it's most like. So it's like annoying. Frank says, Twitch is my background music while I work all day. I imagine I hit 60 hours a week, but I feel like watching the things I do on Twitch tends to be more valuable than my work. That's the thing. Like I am not so angry with my being on Twitch like constantly because it's the background noise I like. Sometimes it's very valuable. Like it's like good people and stuff. And I'm happy to like, be there. And like, yeah. So, okay. Smartphones as well as other internet-connected devices are implicated in the attention economy, an economy of mostly free products funded by advertising that is only worthwhile to its purveyors if it can capture users' attention. Smartphone addiction poses a distinct threat to our rational capacities because an effect of the addiction is susceptibility to having one's attention hijacked at frequent intervals, interrupting one's ongoing tasks. Yeah, this is just like, addiction is bad for you. Yes, and things that are trying to get your attention by using your addictive habits, those are bad for you. Yeah, it's like, okay, now is this like philosophically interesting? I don't find it philosophically interesting, but I don't think they're wrong. Okay, authors say, this is compounded by the fact that internet-connected screens are almost entirely unavoidable in contemporary life, especially in certain lines of work and in almost all areas of study. Many of us cannot do our work without being confronted with the temptation to check the website, apps, and messages that drive smartphone addiction. Put another way, our work and study environments are, at present, structured to make actual and potential smartphone addicts extremely and constantly vulnerable to the hijacking of their attention and the deepening of the addiction via runs through hook cycles. Okay, there's a really bad problem right here. They say all this stuff about society. They don't go any farther. Why is there an attention economy? The attention economy is a problem because it's run by big companies in the capitalism. So they completely ignore that there is political and societal implications to this. They're just like, oh yeah, it's involved in everything. Why is it involved in everything? Because people are making shit tons of money about this. If our society was set up differently, this wouldn't be a thing. The attention economy is the way it is because capitalism and technology are the way they are. But that's not an innocent thing. That's not just like, oh yeah, okay, obviously. No, we could be living in a different timeline where, yeah, we have this tech, but like people aren't making money off us by surveilling us constantly. Like surveillance capitalism is a different problem. And this is not that old. This is 2021. I think the Zuboff, well, when did that come out? The surveillance capitalism, like it seems like this is the real problem, not just like, oh yeah, it's integrated into everything, but like the surveillance capitalism is a thing. Yeah, when's the Shoshana Zuboff? Let me go look that up. I can't even type. I'm trying to type too fast. Yeah. The Age of Surveillance Capitalism book published in 2019. And there were articles before this. It's a 2018 nonfiction book by Shoshana Zuboff. So, yeah. So these people published this paper after this, and they really missed like the bigger point right here, and that annoys me. Yeah, thank you, Vipers. Yeah. So we'd have better attention spans under socialism? Not necessarily, Valpo. The question is, we are in surveillance capitalism now, and that is sort of like the overarching story of this, because the way capitalism has gone is that we are surveilling everybody, and that's how they're getting to us, by having us all carry around surveillance devices in our pockets. So like they like this. But like the fact that these authors are like, oh, this is just how like tech is. It's like, no. There's a lot more to like society right here. Maybe they'll mention it below, but like right here, they didn't say it. Yeah. Frank says, but it makes it more like calling it our duty to reduce our environmental footprint when it's the global corporations that cause the problem. Exactly, Frank. Yeah. That's a great way of saying it. Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's blaming the little guy when it's the big companies that have like, you know, are making billions of dollars off this. It's like, yeah, I can cut down on my cell phone usage, and you can cut down on like, you know, making sure you use a little less water when you brush your teeth. But like in the grand scheme of things, like that does add up, but like that's really not our problem. Like that's not what's going to save society when we have, you know, great, like if you go live in Phoenix, we're running out of water. Like that's it. So you don't buy it? Okay. Yeah. All right. So authors like Cal Newport, who coined the term digital minimalism, argue that we would be better off if we restructured our relationships with the technology on our own terms. He understands digital minimalism as a philosophy of technology use in which you focus your online time on a small number of carefully selected and optimized activities that strongly support things you value, and then happily miss out on everything else. Yeah, it's up to the little guy to fix your problem. Now, you're very like the individualist thing. They're like, oh yeah, it's up to you and your willpower to like, you know, do this. Sure, that's great, but again, that's always shilling for big tech. The paper is, should we do less cocaine? And you're like, that's not the point. There are cartels. Yeah, no. This is like right here. This is what I'm saying. Like, I think you put the comments in before I got to it. It's like, where's the personal responsibility here? I'm saying, look, we've got like people shoving this down our throat. The cartels are not shoving cocaine down your throat. Google is advertising every day on the TV. Buy the new Pixel. Apple, buy the new iPhone. That's not the same. That's not the point. There are cartels. Yeah, but these big tech is shoving the tech down our throat. So it's like, yeah, should we do less cocaine? Sure. Should you be able to limit your time on the phone? Yeah, but like they are actively advertising to you. So yeah. And Frank is not entirely sure if we should do less cocaine. Harris says, I don't know, man. Aren't the poor responsible for all their ills? If they just work 3 jobs at $7.25 per hour, they could end up with less poverty. Yeah. Yes, there's a personal responsibility thing here, but this is the quote right here. This is you focus your online time. It's like it's taking all the responsibility away from the extremely powerful tech companies. And it's like, well, of course you are somewhat responsible, but then so are other people too. Yeah. So a philosophy of technology use is a personal philosophy that covers which digital tools we allow into our life, for what reasons, under what constraints. Yeah. So again, it's a very this is just the United States sort of like a rugged individualism thing. It's like, yeah, like I understand you are responsible for yourself, but like there are other factors to take into consideration also. I don't need to be like, oh yeah, it's all your fault that all the things in society are bad then. It's like, no, that's not true. All right, Newport's definition outlines a noble idea, but we are happy to adopt a less demanding understanding of the notion. For one, we do not think that users must ensure that time spent online is restricted to a small number of optimal activities. We are happy to sell for a reasonable number or amount of activities or time in light of one's ends. Okay, so they're just saying, oh yeah, as long as it doesn't ruin your life. Yeah, Eudaimonis is capitalism and everything is capitalism is just the winning overarching hierarchy. Yeah, again, I don't know how to solve the problems of today, but the idea that everything's just going to be solved by like, oh yeah, take more personal responsibility, that's not solving capitalism. That's just ignoring the problems. Shell says, tacit point, the thesis has more impact the bigger the problem. If it's a paper about a small minority of people, whatever, but if it describes most of us, it's more important. Yeah, because I mean, I know a lot of people have, spend way too much time on their cell phone. So that's a question. Is it accusing us of being, what's the word? Akrasic, like technologically akrasic, weak-willed in the face of technology? Maybe. He's not responsible for trying to solve it. He's identifying it as a moral issue. Yeah, but they are trying to solve it. That's exactly what they're doing. They're telling us what we should be doing. Right here. This is what we should be doing. Like, we do not things that we must. We are happy to sell for a reasonable number or amount of activities or time in light of one's ends. They are telling us exactly what we should be doing. They're Kantians. They're telling us what we ought to be doing. So, yeah. It's, you're identifying a moral issue and telling us what we should be doing about it. So it's like, I'm not buying that it's just descriptive. If it was just descriptive, they could have ended it in the first 2 paragraphs. You're addicted to your phone. Okay, that's bad. That's descriptive. Fine. It's like, all right. And what does it mean? You don't get to, you are not doing what you want to do with your life. Period. That's like fine. But that would have been 1 page. I mean, this is the DSM. Let me go look up video game addiction. Because oh, I don't know if it's in this one. Maybe it was in the next one. Let's see. Maybe technology. I can't find it fast. But if you want to go find something that's a little scary, go look up the definition of a video game addiction. Literally anyone who plays video games like more than a few times, like you're addicted to video games. It's terrible. And like, but it's not that long either. Like, it's like I saw it once. It's like this long of a diagnosis. Like these are like the bullet points of diagnosis. Like you do X amount of stuff. And so it would be like 1 page of this text. So. Oh dear. What are you sending me, Ivan? You got t-shirt designs? All right. See, find out. Okay. But anyway, so that's the point. They are telling you what you need to be, you ought to be doing. They're Kantians. All right. Another difference is that we do not, in fact, think that users need to develop a philosophy of technology use. Rather, we are happy to sell for the cultivation of a disposition, which, of course, may be realized via the development of a philosophy. Thus, we understand a digital minimalist as one whose interactions with the digital technology are intentional, such that they do not conflict with their ends. For most, being a minimalist will involve a serious reduction, in some cases to the point of elimination, of interaction with smartphones, smartphone apps, and social media sites. For some, it may even require living up to Newport's ideal. Again, I feel like this sort of thing is like where you need to just get rid of technology. I feel like that's a Luddite position. It's saying, oh, all the good things in life are, what it was before we had all of this. I don't think that's a realistic goal anymore. Granted, do we know what all the good things in life are anymore? Like, do we understand society at the moment? No. Do we understand where all the good is? No. But like, again, saying, oh, you have to go back to an older time when like you just weren't using all the tech, I think that's unrealistic. Viper says, before we go to the next paragraph, I just want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and you could be exploited by hackers. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. Click the link in the citations to get 20% off for the first 2 months, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this paper. Back to philosophy. Thank you, Vipers. I forgot about the sponsor of this stream, NordVPN. And says, nowadays a lot of things are not considered addiction per se, like porn or video games. They're considered part of addictive disorders that manifest in sex, porn, games, or other activities that release endorphins. But to differentiate the substance addictions, that you end up needing them to actually survive. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, so you're just finding the endorphins in different areas. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Frank says, I'm going to be honest. I think I'm deeply ignorant about how often people use their smartphones and what they use them for. I think my ignorance is making me hard to take this seriously. Yeah, I know a lot of people that do, but I also think they scapegoat it for, they say, oh, I'm like addicted to this or addicted to that, when they're just like, they are scapegoating. I do feel like there is a personal level of responsibility that people aren't taking a lot of times, because I'm not saying like these are, like, they're not, the big businesses are not in control of all of their lives. Sometimes it happens, but like, yeah, no. So I'm not I don't know exactly where I fall. I just don't think this is this is a serious problem, but I think it's just a problem with like tech in general. Yeah. Yes, you can live without sex if that's your addiction, but you can't live without heroin or alcohol when you're in that deep. Yeah. So like, people will die if they just go cold turkey, and that's a problem. And so the idea that they're telling you to be a digital minimalist, it's just like, yeah, the big claim is that it just can't be fucking with the rest of your life. Okay. All right. It is not likely that the duty to protect our autonomy compels us to abstain from using our smartphones altogether, although the problematic use of these devices threatens our rational agency. Thoughtful, intentional use of them can actually enhance our capacity to pursue ends. Yeah, so this is the other side, and I'm glad they're at least mentioning it, is that the idea that like you have to actually be able to use these things in like current life to enhance our capacity to pursue ends. Like if you couldn't use Twitch, as a few of us were saying, it would be really shitty, because like as Frank was saying, Frank uses Twitch to have on while working, and it's better than the work. It's more interesting. And like I use Twitch, and I know a lot of us use Twitch during the pandemic, because you need socialization. You just couldn't get it outside. And so it's like that would have been very bad if we couldn't use the tech to connect with other people. So it's like, yeah, that was enhancing our capacity to pursue our ends. All right. For instance, a user who has an autonomous desire to exercise more often might download an app that uses notifications prompting her to work out. The app might remind her of a successful streak, harnessing a manipulative tactic to help her pursue an autonomously chosen end. Yeah, how many of you have clicked on a stream because you got a stream watching streak here on Twitch? I've gotten those. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll click on that link just because like stream watching. So it's like, yeah. I think that's a pretty clever one on Twitch's part. Like you're about to hit a 3 stream streak. Go watch this streamer. Yeah. The danger here is that the relationship with the device is often decided on terms that are not our own, even when we are pursuing an autonomous end. Someone might begin using social media in order to stay in touch with old friends. This end and the means to pursue it were chosen autonomously. They were products of her rational agency. You've never gotten a streak or text message? Interesting. Yeah. Streak, text, or message. Interesting. I get that, like, if I'm on, like, maybe it doesn't show up on cell phone, but, like, on the desktop, I definitely get, like, a little whisper, or was it a message? Yeah. It's under the Twitch messages at the top of my screen. It says, like, oh, you're gonna hit a 3 stream streak. Yeah. Okay, yeah, this end and the means to pursue it were chosen autonomously. They are products of her rational agency. Over time, however, this autonomous usage might give way to addictive behavior as she starts to check the app compulsively to see the status of her posts. She has fallen the prey to a manipulative hook cycle, and now her relationship with the technology is built on the developer's terms rather than her own. Yeah, what's it called? I think CT Win calls this capture. Was it value capture? So like, yeah, so other people have said this, and this is the value capture that CT Win talks about. We love our CT Win here. So like, this is a good point. It's that they get you in with something good, they hook you, and then they get you coming back with the addictive behavior. So yeah. All right, Newport may very well be right that we have prudential reasons to reduce our smartphone usage. Perhaps most people would be better off if they became digital minimalists, but if the Kantian argument that follows is sound, then we might have even more compelling reason to adopt the end of digital minimalism. We may have moral reasons. Okay, so now they're going to say, your autonomy, oh my God, your autonomy and your rationality. Okay. Imperfect duties to oneself. Although some ethicists reject the very notion of duties to oneself, Kant makes them a central component of his moral theory. He says that they take first place and are the most important of all. He goes so far as to suggest that duties to oneself are the foundation of duties to others, making them the precondition of all moral duties. But he worries that they have not been properly understood and claims that no part of morals have been more defectively treated than this of the duties to oneself. He thinks that they have been misunderstood as a mere elevation of self-interest, a duty to promote one's own happiness, which he dismisses as an absurdity. Rather than grounding such duties in egoism, Kant argues that humanity, that is rational nature, has an absolute inherent value, and this generates self-regarding obligations insofar as the agent is morally required to respect humanity in her own person. Thus, duties to oneself are derived from the humanity formulation of the categorical imperative, which tells us that we must always treat humanity, even in our own person, as an end, never merely as a means. Viper says, admittedly, if someone looked at my browsing history, they would definitely say there's a moral reason for you to stop. Maybe. I don't know if, like, you're real... Vipers, I actually don't know if you're any worse than anyone else. Like, I expect a lot of people are better, but I don't know if you're really on the, like, terrible end. I mean, you're sitting around here with us idiots. Like, maybe, but maybe not. Frank says, well, now my browsing history includes FaceHub, so I guess I'm a toast too. Exactly. That's the issue. Yeah. I don't know. Alright. Our aim in this section is to explain and defend this Kantian account of duties to oneself. This involves 3 separate tasks. First, we go into greater detail about humanity and what is distinctive about its value. Second, we explain how this grounds duty to oneself. And finally, we explain the distinction between perfect and imperfect duties. We are not committed to every aspect of Kant's moral theory or to the particular self-regarding duties that he defends. Our project has a more limited scope. We are simply adopting some plausible premises from Kantian moral philosophy in order to argue for the existence of duties to oneself. Duties to self are the reason you can't masturbate. It's using your hog as a crank to pleasure. Yes. So, thank you for that historical tidbit. Let's just see how much we got. Okay, we got to get actually to the end of this. That's annoying. Okay, no, it's 12 pages. All right, and we're on like page 9 or something. Wait, where am I? Yeah, okay. You're on page 8. We just got to get to page 12. So we're mostly there. Thanks for sticking around. Okay, let's find out what the value of humanity is. Kant famously claims that human beings, in virtue of their rational agency, have a uniquely elevated status, which he calls dignity. Yeah, it's the rationality, rational agency. So this is it. So we're special because we're smart. That's it. The absolute worth of humanity is distinguished from other values in 3 notable ways. It is objective, unconditional, and non-fungible. First, an objective value is one that holds for all rational agents, and this is contrasted with relative value, which requires the presence of a contingent inclination. For instance, the value of a chocolate cake is merely relative because it has value only insofar as agents desire it. Not everyone has this inclination, even if most of us do, so it cannot make a claim on the wills of all rational agents. Second, dignity is an unconditional value. Value of this kind cannot be lost, and it holds in all contexts. Yeah, okay, I don't think unconditional, the rationality, people, what happens when you start to lose your mind, Kant? It's like, I don't know. Alright, finally, it is non-fungible, which is to say that human beings have the kind of value that does not admit of exchanges for things of equal value. Kant says in the groundwork that everything either has either a price or a dignity. What has a price can be replaced by something else as its equivalent. What, on the other hand, is raised above all price and therefore admits of no equivalent has dignity. That's nice, Kant. Alright, so we're just really, really special, according to Kant. Which, as you can see, I don't buy the Kantian arguments, but it's just being like, oh yeah, we're really special. Good job, Kant. Alright, the duty of respect. In order to move from the absolute value of humanity to the existence of particular duties, however, additional steps must be taken. Oh no, what? JPEG intensifies? What is this? Kant! Yes. So yeah. Alright, so In order to move from absolute value of humanity to the existence of particular duties, however, additional steps must be taken. This can be done in a variety of ways, but one approach draws on Kant's assertion that respect is the only appropriate attitude to adopt with regard to the dignity of rational nature. Okay, so now we're special, and so now you have to respect being special. That's very good. This claim allows us to make an argument that bridges the gap between the value of rational nature and the humanity formulation of the categorical imperative. On this view, our actions can either express or fail to express the kind of respect that is becoming of human dignity. Yeah, exactly. But not including people with severe intellectual disabilities. This is the problem. It gets very, it sounds great in theory. In practice, there's a lot of wiggle room with all these things. And so this is why I don't like it. It's exactly this reason. There's too much theoretical wiggle room, even though it sounds great in the simple cases. So this is why I do not like Kantian theories. Okay. Respect my autonomy. Yeah. Autonomy. That's good. That's good, Ivan. On this view, our actions can either express or fail to express the kind of respect that is becoming of human dignity. For instance, when I make a false promise to the banker about repaying a loan, my action expresses disrespect for the banker. Really? That's what it is? Disrespect for the banker? If I recognize that rational agency, the capacity to set ends, is a faculty that deserves respect, then I cannot, on pain of inconsistency, disrespect the ends of other agents as if they did not matter. Yeah, what a guy. 1724 to 1804. It is this demand for respect that gives rise to the formula of humanity. Kant says that you must act that you use humanity, whether in your own person or in another person, always at the same time as an end, never merely as a means. Naturally, this leads to self-regarding duties. Given that humanity, that is rational nature, has dignity, we must respect it even in our own person. We therefore have duties to ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that overall point. I don't think you need this Kantian setup, but you need to respect that yourself as, something of value. That's true. You have at least value to yourself and others in our society. So it's like, do you need to have this grand abstract metaphysics? Maybe you like it. Maybe Kant is right. Maybe that's a good thing. But there's other ways to agree that you have dignity and you deserve respect from yourself, including as from other people. Agency for incapable of agency, or rather recognizing that they have no agency. Yeah. Well, that's the problem with Kant. It makes it too easy to be like, those people don't have the kind of rationality that's important, and so we don't have to treat them like humans anymore. Yeah. So, we therefore have duty to ourselves. Kant argues, for instance, that it would be wrong to commit suicide in order to avoid a life that promises more pain than pleasure. This is because suicide throws away one's rational nature and thus fails to express proper respect for it. I mean, that's a weird fucking argument because it seems rational not to want to deal with a shitty life, but okay. Yeah. So yeah, slavery exists. If we were to put this in consequentialist language, we could say that rational agency has a value that is lexically prior to that of pleasure. So discarding one's rational nature in order to forestall emotional pain is a bad trade-off. Right? Perfect and imperfect desires. The formula of humanity not only provides a perspicuous way of understanding duties to oneself, it directly grounds those duties. It is in virtue of this obligation that we have such duties to ourselves. Kant himself uses the formula of humanity to derive most of the duties to oneself that he discusses in the Metaphysics of Morals. There and elsewhere, he makes an important distinction between perfect and imperfect duties. First, perfect duties refer to actions that are strictly forbidden, admitting no exceptions. This is how Kant thinks of promise breaking and suicide. There is no latitude when it comes to such prohibitions. These can typically be derived from the never as a mere means clause. Making a false promise to the banker treats her as a mere means and disrespects her rational nature. Viper says, rather than therapy, what about a passive-aggressive frustration venting service for philosophers? Like their colleague pisses them off and, motherfucker, I'm going to get you shitty papers read aloud on Philosophy Roulette. Maybe Iris is already using it in that way. It is by will alone that I set my mind in motion. Very good, Ivan. I like that. That's how it works. And definitely not Twitch. Twitch isn't what makes you think. It's your by will alone. Vipers, I know for a fact that people sometimes request papers that they want feedback on. So, yeah. And maybe they do it just to annoy me, but I was already but I was already going to be annoyed, so it doesn't really make a difference to me. You know, as far as the Kantian arguments go, I don't agree with them. I don't think they're doing a bad job in terms of representing Kantian arguments. Maybe there's people out there that, like, you know, they're like, okay, yeah, this sounds great. I mean, it's not for me. It might be for other people. I don't think they're doing a bad job. Granted, I'm not a Kant scholar. I don't know if this is a really good argument in terms of Kantian reasoning, but I don't see anything like particularly bad about it either. So, okay, imperfect duties, on the other hand, stem from the obligation to respect humanity always as an end. Kant claims that this obligates us to adopt certain ends, for example, the happiness of others, our natural and moral perfection, etc. Imperfect duties are obligations to pursue ends, but they do not tell us how much to pursue those ends, and they do not endorse particular actions through which those ends must be pursued. For instance, Kant thinks we have a duty to cultivate our natural abilities. This is an end that we are obligated to adopt, but how and to what extent we pursue this obligatory end is a matter of discretion. You're motivated by Will Neff alone, yes. I was wondering whether this would be okay for teaching. You know, like, this Kantian argument is not terrible. We've seen this before in multiple locations, that like the AI, especially in the discussion of AI, that like it's a special technology. Like the dangers of the AI, like getting into your head and, like, you know, making you do stuff. This is just claiming it for the cell phone and the gamification of apps. So we've seen this multiple times, and this one is maybe better than the ones we've seen on the AI. We've seen some real stinkers when it came to, like, oh, the AI is like really bad and is gonna, like, you know, get into your head and make you do stuff, like it'll take away your agency. This one I think is a little bit better than that. So that's fair. People could pay to ensure their paper is not read on Philosophy Roulette. Ivan, the sad part is that so little philosophy actually gets read that even when I've been mean to people, they've been pretty happy with my reviews. They're like, oh my God, you read it and you made some good points. Thank you. Like, they don't have to be super happy. They're like, thanks for reading it. You made some good points. You know, we're going to take that into consideration. So the fact that there's just so much that's published, that anyone is like here reading it and has like a, you know, like a chat, like discussing it, they're like happy about this. Yeah, then it went off the deep end in Kantian morals. Yeah, but you know, they're philosophers. They have to do that. Ivan says, it is by the juice of Sappho that thoughts acquire speed, lips acquire stains, and that stains become a warning. Yes. The juice of Sappho. That sounds like a good, like, you know, wine or something. Okay, imperfect duties, on the other hand, stem from the obligations to respect humanity always as an end. Kant claims that this obligates us to adopt certain ends. I read this. Imperfect duties are obligations to pursue ends, but they do not tell us how much. Oh, I'm already through this. Okay, yeah, it's not an addiction, sure. And the smartphone thing might make it more accessible to the students. Yeah, that's true too, Valpo. Yeah, so like in this genre, I do think this is slightly better than the other ones that I've read. Like I've said, with most of them, they're fear-mongering. Like they're, FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's what a lot of it is. But yeah. That just sounds like a lesbian pick-up line. That was the point, Dan. That was the point. Yeah. Alright. With these pieces of Kantian ethics in place, we can now put forward the argument that will be needed to ground a crucial premise in our argument for the imperfect duty to be a digital minimalist. 1. Humanity. Rational agency has objective, unconditional, and non-fungible value. Dignity. Premise 2. Anything that has dignity ought to be respected as an end and never treated as a mere means. Premise 3. If humanity ought to be respected as an end and never treated as a mere means, then we have an imperfect duty to cultivate and protect our rational agency. Note, though, nothing in these things. If you're saying, look, dignity ought to be respected as an end and never treated as a mere means, capitalism is through. All of our labor is being treated as a means. Like, the whole thing is through. This is this is a bomb. This is like a moral bomb being set off in all of society. You can't have any of our tech and any of our like business if you're not using people as there is no more surveillance capitalism if like you are like adopting this. I mean, they're not wrong, but like again, it's Frank says I was ready to be mad at this paper, but I think it's okay. Like I said, yeah, if you like Kantian shit, like it's okay. When teaching, I would stress the why phone bad part rather than the phone bad part. Yeah, like it's more anti addictive technology. I mean, I completely agree with that. Addictive technology bad. But again, is that like so interesting? Well, they had to focus it somewhere. So yeah, 1 to 3 seem pretty good. Yeah, it's fine. Like it's okay. C1, we have an imperfect duty to cultivate and protect our rational agency. Yeah, so it's like, don't do things that fuck you up. That's the entire result here. It's like, okay. All right, this conclusion follows naturally enough from Kantian ethical principles, but an additional premise is needed in order to justify the conclusion that we ought to be digital minimalists. 4. The imperfect duty to be a digital minimalist. In section 2, we argued that addiction to, or the compulsive use of, wireless mobile devices constitute a kind of technological heteronomy. In many cases, is incompatible with our capacity to govern ourselves. In section 3, we argued that we have a duty to cultivate and protect our rational agency. This brings us to our central argument. C1, we have an imperfect duty to cultivate and protect our rational agency. P4, if we have an imperfect duty to cultivate and protect our rational agency, then we ought to adopt the end of digital minimalism. We ought to adopt the end, as in the thing to do, of digital minimalism. This is a terrible sentence, because the end of digital minimalism, depending on how you parse this, is exactly the wrong conclusion. You ought to adopt the goal of digital minimalism. Therefore, we ought to adopt the goal of digital minimalism. So, it should come as no surprise that Kantian ethics involve a duty to foster and safeguard one's own rational agency. But the connection, so this is just saying don't get addicted. And don't get addicted to your phone specifically, but just don't get addicted. It should identify the end of mass adoption and total addiction. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. It's like, be rational, don't be addicted. Okay. Okay, but the connection of this duty to digital minimalism might be less obvious, although Section 2 outlined the effect that wireless mobile devices can have our personal autonomy. More should be said in defense of premise 4. If phones are bad, okay, yeah. In his prominent defense of the defense of self-respect, Thomas Hill argues that servility is objectionable because the servile person has a tendency to disavow his own moral rights either because he misunderstands them or because he cares little for them. On Kant's account, servility is contrary to our duty of self-respect. The moral law requires us to recognize the moral status of all rational agents, and the servile person fails to respect humanity in her own person. Carol Hay makes a similar but importantly distinct argument as she claims that oppressed people have a duty to resist their own oppression. What is this, blaming the victim? I mean, yes, they have a duty to stand up for themselves, but don't blame the victim. Does the end result in a singularity? I sure hope it does, but it won't. Hay points out that when it comes to the acquiescence in one's own oppression, if you restrict your focus to the failure to respect the value of rational nature, then you might overlook some of the concrete ways one's rational nature can actually be harmed by the acquiescence. She argues that oppression can harm one's rational agency in a number of ways. It can lead to self-deception, acrasia, and a diminished capacity for rational deliberation. If we share Kant's commitment about the ultimate value of rational nature, then we have a moral duty to protect our rational capacities. Thus, she concludes that the oppressed people have an obligation to resist their own oppression. Notice that's really fucking, I'm not disagreeing with the authors here. They're just bringing this argument from Hay in as support, but that's a really weird thing. It's like you're beaten down by society. It's your job to fight back. But they're saying on top of that, by being beaten down, your rationality is already diminished. So you have to do more with less. That's a weird fucking argument. I do not like this rampant anti-blame the victimism. Yeah, okay. Okay there, Ivan. I don't like blaming, this is saying your rationality is affected by the system, and then it's also your responsibility to fight back harder because of that. Well, that's harder when you've been basically beaten down. I'm not saying you shouldn't fight back. I'm just saying that's really saying it's your responsibility. Yeah, it's your responsibility, but you have to understand if you lack education, all the things, it's harder. Okay, Carol Hay is good though. I'm not sure it doesn't frame it as a victim blaming. All right, fine, Valpo. I just find it a weird argument. If the end is singularity, what was this staged wrong? I don't know. Rethia says putting a logical moral imperative on how to survive in the worst conditions is naive at best and victim blaming at worst. Yeah, I think that's basically. It seems a little naive. That's what I think is right. And says an obligation, silly, lazy, black, indigenous peoples in the American continent, making white men shit for centuries because they didn't realize something was so obvious. Yeah, obviously joking. Yeah, that's like, it just seems, the naivete about it. Like I said, not wrong, just sort of not my favorite argument. But yeah. And maybe it's the author's gloss of it. They're just bringing this person in, and it's just one paragraph. So it's a gloss of an argument, not great. Ivan says, placing zero responsibility on individuals is a recipe for getting nothing done at all. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I don't like that argument. Of course, people have responsibility to like fight for themselves, but it just seems a little weird. Like that, this is what they're relying upon. Yeah. Yeah, it's like when Kanye said that slavery in America was a choice. Yeah, like it just seems sort of myopic. Like you're not really looking at like everything. Of course, people have to fight for their rights to party, but that like there is a society outside of that too. Yudami says we were just talking about absolute ends of right and wrong. In this case, absolute ends of tech, which is singularity. Well, the problem is, it's like this is more focused than that. It's not talking about the absolute ends of tech. It's talking about like the addictive nature of the current generation of tech. Yeah, so again, yeah, Ivan, it's like falling down on the like, all right, you have to like have personal responsibility. It's like, sure, like that's fine. But again, like I just find this argument about it weird. I don't love this argument. So, yeah, nuance of tech and how it's right and wrong. Yeah, it's not trying to make big claims about like the end of tech, the singularity at the end. It's talking about like the problems with addiction to current tech. Ivan says, yeah, I'm not talking about the paper. I'm talking about my reaction to it, about another streamer you're bitter about. Yeah, okay. That's fair. Well, like I said, this is one paragraph here, and it's not even a big paragraph. So it's like, I find it weird. Yeah. So, how can you make the claim without addressing the end? A lot of people make small claims, Eudaimonia. It's very easy. You say, look, I'm talking about this at this point. That's what it is. This is applied ethics. Like, it's applied ethics. They're talking about something here. This is not like a grand scheme in like philosophy article. Yeah, like I said, I just think it's a little naive. That's all I was going for. So I wasn't going for the stronger claim, Ivan. But, like, it's a fair point. Like, there is some responsibility you have to take for yourself and be like, all right, I can't, like, I have to, like, cut down on my phone time, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. All right. An analogous argument can be made regarding our relationship with wireless mobile devices is not merely that the compulsive use of one's phone is inconsistent with one's higher order desires or long-term plans, although that is often the case, as it was with Povitsky's desire to read books. What is even more pernicious is the effect that these devices can have on our rational capacities. Not only is Povitsky's first-order desire to look at Instagram inconsistent with her higher-order desires, the use of her phone over time actually makes her less capable of satisfying those desires. Rethia says, corporations don't take responsibility for shit. They have people for that. Yeah. Well, that was why it's naive. I think that was a good point you made. It's like the corporations are banking on being able to fuck with people's heads. It's like, and that's not on all the individuals. That's on like shady business practices. Wireless mobile devices can weaken our rational agency. They distract us, shorten our attention spans, and make it harder for us to stick to a difficult task. Insofar as we value rational agency, we ought to recognize the threat that these devices pose to it. We should be intentional about how we use them in order to safeguard our capacity to set ends for ourselves and pursue those ends. And it is precisely what it means to be a digital minimalist. Ideals don't live there? Yeah. There is no ideals in business. You have to make money in business. Although this conclusion was derived from Kantian premises, it is likely that other normative theories will lead to the same conclusion. Consequentialists who consider autonomy in their theory of the good, either because it's intrinsically or instrumentally good, are also likely to endorse digital minimalism. Even consequentialists who do not explicitly concern themselves with autonomy can agree that it would be good to mitigate the aforementioned harms associated with the problematic use of wireless mobile devices and other addictive technologies. Yeah, like just addictive technology. That's it. Is there a philosophy pager on the pager? What do you mean, you diamond here? Arguments beside KPIs do not survive, but I don't think it's that bad. No, it's not that bad. An ethical egoist would agree that an addiction that undermines one's ability to pursue other ends is not in her best self-interest. Finally, virtue ethicists and perfectionist moral theories are also likely to endorse digital minimalism on the grounds that addictions of this kind detract from human flourishing. It would, of course, be impossible to give an exhaustive list, but perhaps these suffice to show that although we have presented a Kantian argument in this paper, there are surely moral reasons derived from other normative theories that weigh in favor of digital minimalism. A 90s tech pager. Oh, fun. Yeah, that's... Well, what are you going to do? Huge link. Oh, yeah, this. Oh, yeah, you're showing like pager stuff? Okay. It seems really weird to pick digital addiction specifically to link the universal we shouldn't waste our time conclusion to. And that's what I've been railing on a lot in this paper. Like, it seemed weird, but like this is the, thing of the day in some sense. You had a pager? Yeah. Yeah. Pagers are cool. Pagers were cool. I remember Globus saying, oh, did Globus have a pager? Globus might have had a pager too. I was talking to him about it. He didn't have a car phone. I asked him if he had a car phone. And I think he said no, but he had a pager. Yeah. Yeah. This is part of the problem with this paper, Frank. It's like it's the Kantian argument is going to be anti-addiction, which is fine. Like most things are anti-addiction. Then they're trying to make it like specifically against like cell phones and addictive tech. It's like, well, sure, but it doesn't. It's a little bit of a jump, but it's okay. It's like applied. All right, conclusion. We have argued that there is a moral obligation to be intentional about our use of smartphones and other addictive devices. We have this duty because we are required to protect the most valuable commodity we possess, autonomy. Kant believed that the proper exercise of our autonomy is the only thing that is good without qualification, something that shines like a jewel, having its full worth in itself. To wantonly forfeit something of our agency by falling prey to technological heteronomy is to demonstrate a failure to respect this precious capacity as a treasure that it is. Another TikTok one for you. Okay, so let's give it a review. What do we think? There's a review time. As always, you can vote yay, vote nay, vote meh. Get off your phone in front of you. God damn it. If it had fun ideas, you put down brain dance. You have to type it exactly, though. Same if it made big claims that shriveled up, then that. Nog navel for navel gazing only for academics. Ouroboros for deep ancient ideas. Scream for existential or artistic drama. Nog turd for all style no substance, still poop underneath. And nog knife for slicing and dicing arguments. You have to do the full thing. I'll fix it for you later, you diamond here, but you have to do a vote may. You have to do the full vote. The full title. So yeah. How do you participate? You see the titles on it, so you do like a capital vote and with capital yay or capital thing. So you can also copy it from the other people. You can see the if you mouse over, or if you're on mobile, it's a little harder, but you have to spell it like with the proper capitalization. There you go. Good job. Thank you. Yeah. So again, this is for me. I'm not a Kantian. And so in some sense, I'm actually very objective. I couldn't care less about like what they were saying here because I just think they're right. Yeah, addiction is bad. I agree. They specified it for the current level of tech. That's okay. I don't care. I mean, the thing is like addiction bad, sure. Yeah. Ivan says fancy, but the Kantian premises are bananas. Yeah. This is the first time you ever done naval? Yeah. It's not bad. Like, to tell you the truth, Aris, I think you're right. I think this is a nice paper to teach. It's kind of like, it's really obvious, and it might be good for undergrads. Like that's kind of funny. It's, would I recommend this to anyone like that I think it's interesting? No. Would I recommend if you want to teach with it? Yeah, maybe. Like, this might be a really simple, sort of like obvious present. Like, it was really I felt like they laid it out really well. It was a very sort of plainly argued paper, which is not a bad thing. Plainly argued in philosophy is good. And so it's like it's actually pretty well organized. The arguments are right out there, and in the end, they understood that it did. They said cell phones and other addictive technologies. They understood that. So yeah. Anne says, I wouldn't talk about addiction with this paper at all. It's not bad, but there's so much better information out there with scientific facts, not just classic ideas. Yeah, well, I completely agree with you, Anne, but if you're trying to, apply Kantian philosophy to everyday life, this seems okay. So it's like, I ain't giving it a vote, yay. I'm going to say, what am I going to call this? I guess this is a vote meh from me. So you're going to get we're going to get double meh. Double meh. We're going to get we'll get a nog knife on this. They put their arguments together not bad. Philosophers for theoretical background, sure. Sociology, for example, no. Yeah, of course not. Don't wait. If you're doing sociology, this would be terrible. So would you assign it as a reading or just use the framing in class? Yeah, for hours. I don't like. Would I use this? I mean, no. I wouldn't do this because I find this too boring. But Frank says this paper should have linked a Kantian argument for how there is a general duty to avoid destroying value for other people to get the kids off my lawn. Yeah, like. You know what there's a duty to do? How about not waste people's time writing shitty philosophy papers? Yeah. Yeah, so we don't care about Kantian thoughts. We research phenomenologically. Yeah. So what is actually going on when people view the world? That's a good question. Like, how are they actually looking at things in the world? That's a better question quite often. You don't think you'd teach how to get more with your own framing? Yeah. So yeah, Viper says it's okay. All right. We'd want other people... Would he want all others to read that paper? Yeah, I couldn't be like on Kantian grounds everyone should read this. No. Yeah, so that's what I was saying, Valpo. I think it was a not terrible paper in the sense of laying out a lot of groundwork. They did it very plainly, which is nice in analytic philosophy, and Kant is sometimes quite hard to do. But yeah. You know what's interesting here? I wonder who these people are. Who wrote this? FIU Department of Philosophy. I don't know. Maybe I'll look them up afterwards. Okay, but everyone got their reviews in? You got your last few seconds, and then we'll go find someone to rate, because we're at the 3-hour mark. Maybe we can save the love stuff for next time.